Tensions are once again rising in one of the world's most contested maritime regions as China steps up its military presence near the Scarborough Shoal, a disputed atoll in the South China Sea that has long been at the center of a geopolitical standoff with the Philippines. In recent days, Chinese naval and air forces have conducted what Beijing describes as combat readiness patrols in and around the shoal. The operations include warships, fighter jets, and surveillance aircraft moving through waters that Manila insists fall within its exclusive economic zone. The renewed show of force comes at a particularly sensitive moment, as the Philippines and its allies, most notably the United States, are engaged in one of their largest joint military exercises in years. From Beijing's perspective, the message is clear and deliberate. Such patrols serve as an effective countermeasure to cope with all sorts of rights violation and provocative acts. A spokesperson for China's Southern Theater Command said, "They are meant to resolutely safeguard China's territorial sovereignty and uphold peace and stability in the South China Sea." Those words reflect a familiar stance from China Sea. Those words reflect a familiar stance from China, which claims almost the entire South China Sea under its so-called 9-dash line, a position widely disputed by neighboring countries and rejected by an international tribunal ruling in 2016. For the Philippines, however, the narrative is starkly different. Officials in Manila have dismissed China's statements, arguing that the patrols are not about maintaining peace, but about asserting control over waters that legally belong to the Philippines. The government has repeatedly emphasized that Scarborough Shoal, known locally as Bajo de Masinloc, lies well within its maritime jurisdiction under international law. As both sides hold firm to their positions, the situation at sea has grown increasingly tense. Reports indicate that Chinese vessels have not only patrolled the area, but at times have foreshadowed or challenged Philippine ships and aircraft operating nearby. In one recent incident, a Philippine Coast Guard aircraft conducting a patrol reportedly received multiple radio warnings from a Chinese naval vessel, signaling Beijing's determination to enforce its claims. Meanwhile, Filipino fishermen, who have long relied on the rich fishing grounds around the shoal, find themselves caught in the middle of this geopolitical struggle. There have been repeated allegations that Chinese vessels have harassed or blocked access to the area, further complicating already volatile situation. The latest escalation is closely tied to the ongoing Balikatan 2026 military exercises, a large-scale joint operation involving the Philippines, the United States, and several allied nations including Japan, Australia, and Canada. These drills are designed to enhance military coordination, improve coastal defense capabilities, and prepare for a range of scenarios from disaster response to potentia. They include live fire exercises, simulated amphibious assaults, and advanced weapons deployments. China has been openly critical of these exercises, viewing them as a direct challenge to its influence in the region. The Philippines is disrupting peace and stability by organizing joint patrols with countries outside the region, China's military said in a separate statement. Beijing's response has been swift and highly visible. Chinese warships and aircraft have increased their presence not only around Scarborough Shoal, but across broader areas of the South China Sea. In some instances, heavily armed bombers have been deployed as part of these patrols, underscoring the seriousness with which China views the situation. Analysts say this pattern reflects a broader strategy to signal resolve, deter foreign military activity, and reinforce territorial claims without crossing the threshold into open conflict. But the Philippines and its allies are equally determined to push back. Officials in Manila have stressed that the joint exercises are defensive in nature and are not aimed at any specific country. Instead, they argue the drills are essential for maintaining readiness and ensuring the country's ability to respond to both natural disasters and security threats. Behind the scenes, however, there is little doubt that China's growing assertiveness is a central concern. The deployment of advanced systems such as anti-ship missile platforms during the exercises has further heightened the stakes. While these systems are being used in simulated scenarios, their presence sends a clear signal about the evolving military dynamics in the region. At the heart of the dispute lies Scarborough Shoal itself, a triangular chain of reefs and rocks located roughly 220 kilometers west of the Philippine island of Luzon. Despite its relatively small size, the shoal holds significant strategic and economic importance. Its surrounding waters are rich in fish, providing, well, livelihoods for coastal communities, and its location makes it a valuable foothold in the South China Sea. Control over the shoal has been contested for years. In 2012, a standoff between Chinese and Philippine vessels resulted in China gaining effective control of the area. Since then, tensions have flared repeatedly, with incidents ranging from maritime confrontations to diplomatic protests. The current situation represents one of the most serious escalations in recent years. According to recent reports, China has deployed multiple vessels, including Coast Guard ships and naval units, around the shoal, sometimes in large numbers. At the same time, the Philippines has increased its own patrols, often accompanied by allied forces. This growing military presence raises concerns about the risk of miscalculation. In such a crowded and contested environment, even a minor incident, such as a collision or a misinterpreted maneuver, could quickly spiral into a larger crisis. Both sides are aware of these risks, yet neither appears willing to back down. China continues to frame its actions as defensive and lawful, while the Philippines insist on its sovereign rights under international law. The involvement of external powers, particularly the United States, adds another layer of complexity to an already intricate situation. For Washington, the South China Sea is a critical region for maintaining freedom of navigation and supporting allies. The United States has repeatedly affirmed its commitment to the Philippines under their Mutual Defense Treaty, signaling that any armed attack on Philippine forces could trigger a response. This commitment has not gone unnoticed in Beijing. Chinese officials have frequently criticized U.S. involvement in the region, accusing Washington of escalating tensions and interfering in what it considers regional matters. As the Balakatan exercises continue, the interplay between military maneuvers and diplomatic messaging becomes increasingly apparent. Each patrol, each statement, and each deployment carries symbolic weight. For China, the goal is to demonstrate control and deter challenges to its claims. For the Philippines and its allies, the objective is to uphold international law and resist what they see as coercive behavior. In this high-stakes environment, the line between deterrence and provocation can be razor-thin. Observers note that both sides are engaged in a delicate balancing act, seeking to assert their positions without triggering a direct confrontation. Yet, the underlying tensions remain unresolved. The South China Sea dispute is not just about territory, it is about influence, security, and the broader balance of power in Asia. Scarborough Shoal has become a symbol of these competing interests, a focal point where national pride and strategic priorities intersect. For now, the situation remains tense but controlled. Military patrols continue, exercises proceed, and diplomatic channels remain open, even as rhetoric. Sea grows sharper. The coming weeks will be critical. As the joint drills conclude and patrols persist, the actions taken by both sides will shape the trajectory of the dispute. Whether tensions ease or escalate further will depend on a complex mix of military decisions, diplomatic efforts, and political calculations. One thing is certain: the waters around Scarborough Shoal will remain under close watch, not just by the countries directly involved, but by the international community as a whole. Because what happens here has implications far beyond a single disputed reef. It is a test of how nations navigate conflict in an increasingly contested world, where power, law, and diplomacy are constantly in tension, and where even the smallest patch of sea can become a stage for global rivalry.